Hey folks, welcome back to another top 5 video. I can say that now because this is my 4th top 5 video that I've done so far in just 2 weeks. I'm probably going to have to slow down here in a little bit, but for right now, I'm cranking them out like you guys said you wanted, or at least some of you did. But anyway, today I'm taking a look at my top 5 Star Wars games. If you know me, you know I'm a Star Wars fan, and so this is kind of a no-brainer for me. First honorable mention is Star Wars Episode 1, The Queen's Gambit. Now, some of you might have just fallen out of your chair because you were probably expecting this one to be on my list, but you'll understand why it's not on my list as we go through the top 5. But I did want to mention it. It's a great game. Love playing this game. Still enjoy playing it if I ever get the chance to. That is Star Wars Episode 1, The Queen's Gambit. My second honorable mention is the Star Wars LCG, the living card game from Fantasy Flight. And I really enjoyed and have enjoyed this game over the past few years, but at the same time, it has some thematic problems with it. The fact that a Star Destroyer can be fighting a Rancor or something like that, where you have a land-based unit that is fighting against a space-based unit. Just didn't make sense to me, but at the same time, I really enjoyed the gameplay, had a great time playing the game, so made my honorable mentions. The next one is Star Wars Epic Duels, way back in the day. Now, again, I really enjoyed playing this back in the day and had great fun playing it, but at the same time, had some weird things where certain characters who really should not be able to beat other characters in the Star Wars universe were able to do that in Epic Duels. So, again, nostalgia played a little bit of my mentioning it here in the honorable mentions part, but that is Star Wars Epic Duels. And then finally, the last honorable mention for this list is Loop and Chewie. Now, this one just came out a few months ago, and the reason I'm mentioning it now is that my smallest kid, Aiden, he loves playing this game, and he asks me at least once a week to play it with him, and so I enjoy it, and that's one of the reasons I made my list, because it's a quick, fun, easy game that my son Aiden can challenge me at, and that speaks a lot. He really enjoys it, and so that's why it made my honorable mentions. So, on to the top 5. Alright, so my top 5 for the Star Wars games top 5 list is one game that hasn't been available for quite some time now. As a matter of fact, hasn't been available since I was probably, in college, maybe? I mean, you can still get the cards, but you got to search for them. You just can't walk into a store more often than not and find them and then pick them up and use them. And that is the Star Wars collectible card game from Decipher. Now, Decipher went under a few years ago, and I say that sparingly. So they had to sell the license, and the license was basically tanked. They tried to change some things, and it just didn't work. It just didn't feel the same. This is one of the games that I think correctly and properly handled the struggle between the light and the dark side of the Force, but at the same time, all of the different kinds of characters and the different kinds of things that were in the Star Wars universe just came alive. This is the game where I learned the names of aliens that were just background characters in the movies, and oh man, I ate all that up. I just loved it, and so had a lot of fun playing this back in the day, and I still have quite a few cards in my collection that I'm just not ready to get rid of. I don't play it as often as I used to, but it is still made my top 5 for me. Really enjoyed the game, the Star Wars collectible card game from Decipher. My number 4 Star Wars game of all time is the reason why Queen's Gambit didn't actually make the list. And the reason that Queen's Gambit didn't make the list is because Hasbro came out with Risk, the Star Wars edition. Now, the guy who decided to name this Risk, I guess from a marketing standpoint, good job. Because that probably got you a lot of sales that you probably shouldn't have gotten, because it isn't Risk, not even close Doesn't even use any of the mechanisms that Risk uses, except maybe moving from one zone to another. It is the Queen's Gambit Light. They have took that mechanism where you have 3 different fields of battle, almost very similar to the Command and Colors system, where you have 3 different fields of battle and cards that will affect one of those 3 different fields, and you have to choose which one you have to use. But at the same time, this is why Queen's Gambit is on the list, because this is readily available now, unlike Queen's Gambit, unless it gets a reprint, which I don't think it will since this came out. I don't know. But anyway, Risk, the Star Wars edition, is a game that I truly enjoy. It's very simple to teach, very simple to play through, and it offers a lot of different tactical and strategical, or rather strategic possibilities with it. It feels a little bit weighted on the Rebel side, however, I have seen the Imperials win. With that being said, though, it's very difficult for the Imperials to win. But it's still a great game, one that I really enjoy playing. I enjoy teaching it as well. I enjoy just watching it being played. And that speaks a lot, especially for me, because I'm not really one to enjoy watching games being played. I usually want to be involved in it somehow. But that is Risk, the Star Wars edition, my number 4. My number 3 is a game that also came out here recently, and that is Star Wars Armada. Now, Star Wars Armada is a more epic style, more epic feeling version of something very similar to X-Wing, the miniatures game. X-Wing is a little bit more of a snub fighter. You are the actual pilots, whereas Armada, you are in charge of these gargantuan ships that are fighting each other. And then there are little fighter squadrons that are flying around and can damage and you can use them to damage your opponent's ships, but it has a more of an epic feel to it. You are kind of the general, not the pilot. And so that's what I liked about Armada. It took the starfighters and went back a level so that now you're the general and you're basically just having your fleet go up against your opponent's fleet. Really fun game. I loved the orders that you had to kind of program beforehand. Usually don't like programmable type stuff like that, but here it really fit because those big, huge, capital-sized ships just don't. You can't change your mind on the drop of a dime and have it work well. So it fit in this one. So that's my number 3, Star Wars Armada. Now my number 2, because I enjoy being the fighter pilot and having my wingman and working together with those 2 snub fighters against another squadron of TIE fighters or another squadron of X-Wings or what have you. My number 2 is Star Wars, the X-Wing miniatures game. I just slightly enjoy it a little bit more than Armada. Armada is great fun, don't get me wrong, but the smaller, more compact nature of the X-Wing miniatures game is what really pulls it in for me. I enjoy being that singular pilot a little bit more than being the general in charge of the entire fleet. So that's why, and it's really a very small reason why, it just edged out Star Wars Armada to take the number 2 spot, and that is Star Wars X-Wing miniatures game. And finally, my number 1 is, you probably are expecting this one to come out at some time, and it is indeed my favorite Star Wars game currently, and that is Star Wars Imperial Assault. I enjoy the dungeon crawling nature of it, and I really enjoy the carrying over of a storyline that it has in the campaign mode. I also enjoy the skirmish mode greatly, where you don't have to follow a campaign, you don't have to carry over all of that stuff. You can just get in there and duke it out, and it has a very strong Star Wars feel to it. Just so many good things that I can say about it. The miniatures are very well done, so much so that they really are begging to be painted, and I was very happy to have been able to do that video series with Rob Oren and get that painted. I just had a great time painting the miniatures, and a great time playing the game as well. And I knew it was going to make my list. Knew it was going to be number one, actually. I just had to figure out what the other 4 spots were going to be. But my number 1 Star Wars game of all time is Star Wars Imperial Assault. And that's my top 5 Star Wars games. I hope that you enjoyed watching. Of course, as always, tell me in the comments section below why I'm wrong and what games you would have entered into this list. Until next time, this has been Sam Healey. See you on the flip side.